Yeah, I'm just gonna only do the candidates.
You want to see it?
Yeah. Huh? What?
That's all we have to ask.
No, they're the candidates.
As mentioned before, my name is Keith Blocker, council member of the City of Tacoma. Represent District 3, which includes parts of Central Tacoma, parts of South Tacoma, and the Hilltop community. I've been serving in this position for a little over 3 years, almost 3.5 years. I was elected in 2019. It's been a tremendous honor to serve as an elected official. It was my first time in holding any kind of elected office. I had a very, very tough, challenging race that I was able to get through with six people in my primary, and I came out on top. I just want to remind everybody, every vote counts. I made it through the primary by 21 votes. So make sure that you let your friends and family members know the significance and importance of voting. During my time as a council member, I think I've done some good work. We all know that affordable housing and homelessness are major concerns, and really, if you look at homelessness, it's an epidemic in our city. But it's not just our city; it's a regional problem, and the city of Tacoma is bearing a lot of the brunt of problems that's going on throughout the whole county. Just some statistics that I like to share. The city of Tacoma serves the whole county when it comes to addressing homelessness. We have almost all the shelters in the city of Tacoma. We have the only youth shelter in the city of Tacoma, and approximately 1/3 of all the people that we serve with the limited resources we have are from outside the city of Tacoma. So we're dealing with a lot of other cities' problems, but I think we're doing a great job. And it's not something that we're going to solve tomorrow, but as somebody that personally has experienced homelessness quite a few times in my life, times as a young person with a mother, I experienced homelessness as a teenager, did what people call couch surfing as a teenager, and also experienced homelessness as a young adult when I had to sleep in my car at times. So I understand what people are going through, and I'm very passionate about the experiences that people are facing, and they have to make sacrifices that oftentimes, or too many times, leave them in a position where they're homeless, or worst case scenario, even sleeping on our streets. So what the city of Tacoma has done to recognize that homelessness is a huge problem that impacts not only the people that are experiencing homelessness, but the neighbors and the business owners in our city are also dealing with the burdens of homelessness. And the city of Tacoma, in my opinion, has took a very practical as well as compassionate approach to addressing homelessness. One, we don't want to criminalize people for being homeless. That's something that, in my opinion, is problematic and quite frankly is against the law to criminalize people who are experiencing homelessness. And number two, we got to recognize that people really just need a leg up. And the city of Tacoma has added more resources. I'm talking about millions of dollars, additional millions into what the city was investing prior to me serving on the council. And I've been one of the strongest voices and advocates just to let the community know, as well as my council colleagues who none of them have experienced homelessness like the way I have. I've been able to influence people to take a very compassionate approach. So we now have a hot team, which is our homeless outreach team, which is 5 additional officers that we added to our budget just to go out and, one, try to get people to accept the resources that the city has, as well as move people along. It is now illegal for people to camp on streets, parks, and sidewalks, and it's something that, quite frankly, we just have to enforce. One is a public health issue, so we have to make sure that people are not leaving waste, leaving their garbage in our neighborhoods. There's times when we're dealing with the opioid epidemic, as well as homelessness. We're also dealing with addressing drug addiction and mental health problems. So the city of Tacoma is really trying to do our best in terms of wraparound services, recognizing that we have limited resources. In addition to that, we are also working with our county, who is also investing in homelessness. And we're trying to build stronger partnerships with other cities in our region to make sure that we have a regional approach to addressing this. We also know affordable housing is a huge concern that has tremendous impacts on the city of Tacoma. And what's happening is, some of you may be aware, people from Seattle who have more resources, who have higher incomes, are now moving to the city of Tacoma, recognizing that the city of Tacoma is more affordable. But what that's doing is pushing people out and displacing local residents in our city who can't afford the high price of rent and the high price of homes. And that's something that the city can't control, but what we can control is making sure that we invest our dollars and match our dollars with other agencies like Tacoma Housing Authority, as well as our local nonprofits like NBC and our faith-based organizations that do a great deal of work in terms of investing and making sure that we have more affordable housing units in the city of Tacoma. So, as a council member, I was one of the leaders who worked with my council colleagues to come up with an affordable housing action strategy, which is something different than what we have done in the past. In the past, we've always created recommendations. We always did the research and analysis. This time, we said, no, we have to come up with an actual strategy that is going to be practical and that is going to make sure that we are adding more housing stock to the city of Tacoma. So right now, with this strategy, we're looking to add 1,000 additional housing units over the next 10 years. In addition to that, we are going to invest in an affordable housing trust fund so that we can use city dollars to match with nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and developers who are interested in building more housing in our community. So I'm really pleased with the approach that we're taking. Again, it's something that there are many variables that are outside of the city's control, but we are recognizing what we can impact. We're doing the best we can do with the resources that we have. In addition to that, equity has always been a huge priority of mine. The city of Tacoma has an equity initiative. We also have an Office of Human Rights and Equity that our staff members are working to make sure that, one, our city staff reflect the population of the city of Tacoma. So we're working really hard to make sure that when we hire people, we're looking at everything from an equity lens. We want to make sure that our police department reflects our community, that our fire department reflects our community, and our city staff reflects our community. In addition to that, recognizing that over years, really there's been generations of policies that have created disparities in the city of Tacoma. So I requested that the city of Tacoma come up with funds to do what we call a disparity study. And we have created that disparity study which has told us much of what we already know, that the city is not doing a good enough job of making sure that minority-owned businesses, small businesses are getting access to the contracts that the city is doing. So I'll end there. If you have questions or concerns, I don't know if we have time for that now, but I'll stick around after the book.
I'm also going to pass around a sheet of paper with questions to keep, and I'll email them to you. If you answer them, we'll send it out to the bottom also. So we'll start. Right. Yeah. All right. Next, I'll invite up David Holmes to the stage. So same thing, 8 minutes that can be allocated any way you see for it.
Sorry, Melissa's live. I'm like trying to go live too.
Once again, like Austin said, my name is David.
Hold that mic up so we can
sorry.
Please.
Once again, like Austin mentioned, my name is David Combs, and I'll be running for the City Council position 3. Like he mentioned, it represents the Hilltop District, Central Tacoma, and parts of South Tacoma. My pronouns are he, him, and people who are considered to be progressive being elected. And as a citizen of Tacoma and living here for the past 20 years, I think that we would all like to consider Tacoma to be a progressive city. And I wanted my campaign for the city council to follow suit. So to ensure that, I want to commit to my campaign remaining a grassroots effort in order to ensure that my loyalty remains with the people of the city of Tacoma and not with the institutions that will power over us. So I think that's very important. I think moving forward as a community, we have to keep in mind that we have to uplift those who are most disenfranchised and most vulnerable and most impacted. A lot of the speakers that are going to come up are going to mention homelessness problem. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that are on a lot of people's minds, especially here in Tacoma. I own a business on the hilltop, and it's right next to People's Park. And in the last year or so, if you drive by People's Park, you can see a snapshot of what our homelessness problem is. I see it every day. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that I have any sort of relationship or anything to compare my current situation to those who are being impacted. But if we could just come together as a community and center our focuses on uplifting the most disenfranchised people in our community, everybody will benefit. That will make the community of Tacoma a healthy one. Okay? As the campaign goes on, I'm bound not to take any large corporation money, any money from organizations, so that I can ensure that I put the people's interests at the forefront. All right? Now, when we think of the issues that are plaguing our community, we have to look at stats, statistics, and data, and not things like one-sided, biased documentaries that demonize homelessness and spread fear. Okay? So when you look at Pierce County, when it comes to affordable housing, there's 1 unit for every 10 people that need it. When you look at the last 5 years, the average household cost has gone up 49%, while the average household income has only gone up 4%. So when you look at stats and data, you can see that the main cause of homelessness are economic based. So when you hear people in our leadership say that we have a housing crisis, we have a state of emergency, that our actions need to show that. We're making decisions that are giving developers 8-year tax rates to build unaffordable housing in our community. We're not just not helping the homelessness situation, we're contributing to the factors that are contributing to that. So therefore, we must and we have to come together as a community, do what's right, to build true equity. Okay? And what equity means is taking whatever privilege we hold and giving it up, whatever we can, and stepping aside and allowing those who are being impacted to have a voice. Okay? It also means taking whatever extra resources we have and giving those up in order to build true equity. Because until we do that, until we come together and say that just because you're a person that is suffering more than me, just because you're a person that is going through more than me, does not mean you are my enemy. Alright? If we're going to be progressive, we need to make sure we're not just being progressive in theory, but we're being progressive in action. Again, my name is David Combs. I'm running for the Tacoma City Council District 3. Always up for questions. We have time.
Are there any questions in the audience?
All right, thank you very much. If you need to find out my stance on a lot of different issues, you can go to my website, combsporttacoma.com.
How many candidates at this point for this position?
I believe it's only me and Keith right now. So I feel that this will be a really healthy, competitive campaign moving forward. I think a lot of things I hear about Keith are good. I feel that just for the sake of democracy, everyone should have someone to run against, and that was one of the other main reasons I ran, is make it a lot bring out the best in each other. So I'm looking forward to the campaign. I'm looking forward to answering all the questions and being accessible to the community as much as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Christina, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Christina Walker. I'm running for Tacoma City Council position 8. I concluded in District 3, but I'm running citywide and very excited to be here tonight. Thanks for having us all. I'll just give a little bit about my background and then dive into my priorities on the council. So I've been a Tacoma resident for 20 years. I did move out here from the Midwest to go to PLU. Excited to see some Lutes in the audience today. So technically 4 years in Parkland and 16 in Tacoma. But very proud to be a Tacoma resident. Met my husband at PLU. We have 2 young kids, 2 daughters, and are raising them in Tacoma. Tacoma's been home ever since the moment I started here at PLU. So I run a nonprofit by day called Downtown on the Go. We advocate for walking, biking, and transit in Tacoma, and really focus on making sure that everybody has equitable access to transportation options. I'm running for Tacoma City Council to support improving transportation and housing, and I think it's really important to have that conversation together. We can't build housing where there's no access to transportation. If we're setting people up where they need a car, then we're setting them up for failure. So transportation and housing, particularly affordable housing, is the first thing that I'm going to work on. Secondly, jobs and the environment. Everyone needs a job. Jobs are so important to getting people off their feet, supporting their move to the next set of housing options, and that doesn't have to be mutually exclusive with environmentally friendly businesses in our community. So having that conversation together, breaking down those barriers. And then third, and sort of the personal one, my parents are both school teachers, my husband's a school teacher, my kids go to public school, so public education is really important to me. The value I think the City Council brings to public education is access to education. So whether that's physically, works hard on safe routes to school so kids can physically get to school, but also financial accessibility and building opportunities before and after school so that everybody has access to the same programs. And then we can build our skilled workforce for the future of Tacoma and our community. I mentioned that I went to PLU. Also wanted to say, even though I'm a first-time candidate, I've worked in a number of appointed positions. I serve on the statewide commute trip reduction boards and working on how transportation works around the state. I was just appointed to the Foss Waterway Development Authority and looking at how we develop along with the Foss Waterway. And I've served on the Tacoma 2025 Steering Committee as we've worked after the first visioning session with the entire community, working on putting that plan into implementation at the city. And I'm also a proud member of the advisory board at the UWT Urban Studies program. So very excited to serve on city council, serve the city of Tacoma and make it a place where people are first in decision-making processes and can build a Tacoma for all. Happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
So your public transit push is, how are you going to be doing that? Is that more light rail? Is that some sort of commuter throughways, bike? What's your vision on that?
Yeah, great question. So my day job, our work is walking, biking, and transit. So making sure that there's a mode that's available to you and what your needs are and what your abilities are. When it comes to transit specifically, we need a little bit of everything. Again, so that people have options. So buses are vitally important. Pierce Transit. Pierce Transit is doing a bus rapid transit system that I think is a great move towards moving commuters around Tacoma efficiently. And then having heavy rail, sounder, commuter rail, and light rail is equally as important because people are moving at different places. Having that dedicated line that doesn't sit in traffic is really the thing that's going to make a difference as we try to improve congestion on I-5, which we know is a big challenge.
Other questions? Got 4 minutes to go. Come on.
What's your vision for the Tacoma Tide Flats?
Thank you for that. The Tacoma Tide Flats, if not everybody's aware, the sub-area plan is something that's in progress now. I'm very thrilled that the city has brought all the players to the table so that it's not just the city's vision, it's not just the port's vision, but the both at the port. I think that we can grow our economy and our port in an environmentally friendly way. And I think having that conversation with all the players at the table is really key to the process.
Can you talk closer into the mic, because this is pretty loud.
Go ahead and do that.
So I just want to say, supporting jobs, would you support bandbox? Are you familiar with that?
And not.
Bandbox is where you don't look at a person's record when they present their.
Oh, yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
support bandbox?
I don't know a lot about the issue, but at face value, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Nikki.
Do you support the LNG project or support?
So the LNG project is, in my vision, permitted and ready to go. I don't think as a city council member that I should be, and particularly as a candidate, that it's my job to weigh in on a project that's already happening. As we move into the sub-area plan, as I said, I think it's my job as a city council member to build that.
That's very political of you.
That vision for the city in a way that we want to move forward on.
It's actually not permitted, it does not have a construction permit right now as we speak. So that process is still going on right now. And so I just would like to know your feelings.
Way to go, Nikki.
So again, I don't think that it's my job as a candidate to weigh in on a project that's happening now. I don't know the details about that particular permit. My understanding was that
Just
the
ask the
pieces that were
voters.
needed to be permitted were permitted, and so if there's something that I don't know, maybe I could learn something about that. But I don't think it's my job to weigh in on a project that's in the works and that I believe staff are working on figuring out the details on.
Everybody's job.
If you're into your candidacy with all the debates and everything, and you're looking at it, so, because it's been overlooked for so long, it's been delayed so many times. So, that's okay.
Any last questions? We have a minute and a half left.
Have you attended your neighborhood council meeting?
I have. I'm not a very regular member. We participate in the Tacoma Neighborhood Council for my day job, and I'm much more of a regular attendee there, but I haven't attended mine in the past when there's been budget sessions.
Ready?
Yeah, let's make it decide to run for the call.
Yeah, there's an open seat. It needs to be done with good people. I care so much about Tacoma. I never thought I would fall in love with this place, but like I said, I came out to go to school here and ended up just falling in love with
That
Tacoma.
entire answer.
And I think Tacoma needs good people. I think local politics is where we make a difference, and I'm really passionate about creating a Tacoma for my daughters, where they see women on the council that represent them.
Walt, did you ask it?
Yeah, this is an open seat, if the incumbent's terminated without opposition. You have an opponent?
I do have an opponent.
All right, that is time. Thank you. So I ran out of hard things to pass around the question sheet, so if anyone has anything hard to pass a piece of paper around on, that'd be awesome. If not, I'm just going to pass around a loose piece of paper to write questions on. Right? All right, so those were our candidates for the City of Tacoma City Council. So next we have Port of Tacoma, position 5, Shelley. Come on up.
All right.
Definitely shorter than you, okay? Sorry about that, you guys. So, my name is Shelley Schlump, it's a mouthful. I'm running for court position 5, and I'm doing that because Claire Petridge is retiring. I do have an opponent to answer one of the gentleman's questions back there. I believe she's here tonight. I'm running because of 3 different things. For me, I have very passionate over the past 15 years working on issues related to the port. The first is job creation and having family wage jobs. Although the port doesn't maybe address some of the affordable housing issues that we're all talking about tonight, it's great to hear this. I actually live in Puyallup, but I love hearing the passion that people are talking about with the affordable housing issue. But I think just as important as that is having family wage jobs. And by that I mean that they have benefits and they can raise a family on those wages. So I want to protect the port and those jobs, create those jobs. The second thing that I've worked on a lot, probably best known for over the past 10 or 15 years, is working on transportation. In order to protect those jobs, we need to make sure that our freight corridors are open. The whole purpose of the port is to be moving goods in and out of the port on those big ships that we see. And keeping our freight corridors open is critically important. So over the past 10 plus years, I worked and developed a lot of relationships with our local electeds, both local, state, and federal, to pass the transportation package that was passed in 2016. And just because you pass a transportation package, it doesn't magically build a road, so there's a lot of work that happens after that. It is my goal to actually, at some point in my lifetime, to be able to drive on the road that goes into the port. So it'd be lovely, because right now it ends on our main street in Puyallup. So all of that traffic and those trucks are converted one way or another to Cypher down River Road. So transportation, again, is one of the, and getting funding for that, it's not necessarily a popular thing for a chamber executive to say, is that we'd like to add 11 or 12 cents a gallon to your gas, but we all know that that's what it's going to take in order to deal with the traffic congestion that we have, and also to open those freight corridors. And then the third thing that I work on and I'm known for is innovation. So in dealing with traffic and in creating jobs, in fact tonight, I think one of our candidates mentioned there with the urban studies at UWT, they're doing a presentation to the city of Sumner tonight. We're working on an innovation and artisan district. They're doing a presentation from the college, from the university there. And I'm missing that tonight, but it's lovely to be with all of you here. But growing those jobs, creating an environment where we can grow innovative jobs and then help the businesses move maybe from a small area to a larger one. In Sumner, for example, there's a manufacturing and industrial center out there, so we'd like to see maybe industrial design that moves out there. And in regards to artisan, we have craft breweries, and we have bakeries and things like that that can go into those areas, get started, and then maybe move into your downtown core, similar to what you see here on 6th Avenue. Just there today, and it's fabulous here in Tacoma. So we want to grow those jobs, we want to be innovative about growing jobs, we want to be innovative about protecting the environment, we want to be innovative about dealing with transportation issues that impact traffic congestion and our freight corridors. I have a reputation of creating relationships on both sides of the aisle. I deal with the issues. I like stakeholders, I'm very collaborative. I like everyone to come to the table and share what their concerns are and what their views are. I care about that, and hopefully at the end of the discussion, we end with a solution or a strategic plan to move forward that has taken into consideration all of those views and perspectives. So again, I was also part of a delegation, a Pierce County delegation that traveled to Washington, D.C. every year, and it dealt with county-wide issues. So it might have been, for me, I was there to talk about 167 and transportation, but the Port of Tacoma was there that always sent a representative, so I learned about issues like harbor maintenance tax. I don't know if everyone here is familiar with that, but we happen to be a natural deep water port, and we charge a tax the same as other ports, maybe down on the Gulf, that need dredging in order to keep those ports open. And so our ports charge a tax, but we don't really see the benefit of it. So we pass that money on to other ports. So our Port of Tacoma representatives went to Washington, D.C. to talk to our congressional leaders about how we could utilize those that harbor maintenance tax for something that benefited our area, not other ports. So I learned about those types of things, and I became very passionate about the port. I believe in the port. I see in Sumner we have, which is where I basically have operated and had a career for the past 10 years. There are about over 13,000 port-related jobs in the city of Sumner. Believe it or not, the population is 10,000. And there are 6,000 to 7,000 truck trips a day that are port-related that come in and out of there. So we definitely care about keeping the freight mobility current and available for all of our port-related businesses. I will close by telling you I'm from a small city here in Washington called Boarding, not that far away, didn't move that far. 4 or 5 generations from out there. My father was a teamster. My husband was a carpenter, actually at a local 470 here in Tacoma. And my son-in-law is a former pipe fitter. You know, it's a long name. He's actually works at HVAC and he's local 32 here. Very familiar with our labor representatives that we have here, and I definitely believe my husband passed away 10 years ago. I received a pension, so I definitely believe in the members that are working on behalf of our representatives in labor, and appreciate all that they do because I definitely benefited from it right now. So I support that, and I think that is about it that I can tell you. I'd rather have questions if I could.
Who has questions?
We live in a state that has a very upside down tax system as it is, and it affects the poor people in our state tremendously. How would you, if you're gonna add 10 cents to a gallon for gas, how would you make that equitable? Because I have a job where I have to drive in the morning. I have no way to get to work without driving my car, and I definitely could not afford 10 more cents to my gallon when we just, our gas just raised a lot just now. So how would you make that equitable?
So that happened in 2016, so it was passed back then, and they're not done. In order to get the road finished to the port, there will be other things coming along. We're trying to work with, there'll probably be tolling. There's probably going to be, so there's other things that will come along. There's federal grants that we're working on, and that's another reason why we went back to Washington, D.C. But the goal is to create those higher wage jobs so that you can afford, because I hear what you're saying. It hit a lot of our employers really, really hard to be paying that much more. When you're buying hundreds of thousands of gallons to run your trucks and things, add that onto it. So it's difficult. That was a hard advocacy piece to be working on. But again, we put the port first.
Thank you. That is our time.
Okay, thank you.
Deanna, come on up.
Thank you. My name is Deanna Keller. I'm running for the Port Commissioner position number 3. So the 2 biggest questions over the last couple of weeks, I'm a first-time candidate. And so that people kept asking me, so why are you running for office? Any office? Why are you doing this? And it came about 2 years ago in November 2017. Derek Kilmer came to my business to be able to take a look at, it's a woman-owned and a veteran-owned business. So I showed him around the manufacturing facility. We have 2 facilities back here. Showed him how we operate the machinery, and how we got to meet some of the workers. And Derek was great about doing it. I know that you know that. He's a wonderful leader. So January 2nd of last year, Larry Sequist arrived at Caltech and said, I'd like to meet with you. And I said, I don't remember. Larry Sequist is a former representative from 26. And he said, I just want you to know that Derek Kilmer sent me. So he talked quite a bit about, he said, Derek wants you to run for the State House of Representatives. And I looked at that and I said, I don't think I can do this and operate a business. So he sent a lot of people my way to talk about how you can do that. And at that time, I wasn't really ready to do that. At the time, House Speaker Chalk came to visit me, Mina Mercer with the House Democratic Campaign Committee. And I decided I'm just not ready for that right now. So it really was kind of and I've talked with Derek about it too, it's kind of like a call to action. You you want to be the kind of politician, not politician, but elected official that you want to see. So it was time for me to step out and to be able to get off the sofa, get off Facebook, and start talking about it and doing it. The second thing that was important to me is the 26th Legislative District Blue Team asked me to take a look at the nonpartisan races in the municipal city council in Gig Harbor, which is where I'm from, and we also had Port. I have a lot of manufacturing interests. I belong to the Northwestern Maritime Trade Association. It was the right thing for me to do, but the most important part of that is the call to action piece of that, and the passion part of it, because I worked on the Tacoma, the Economic Development Board. I'm past president of the Broadway Center for the Performing Arts. I've worked on the Business Advisory Council for Goodwill Industries. I've mentored a young homeless woman from Lincoln High School. As a business leader, I also wanted to give back to the community. But the important thing for me that spoke to me is that we have significant threats that are important, and we know how important it is to the vitality of this community here. We lose significant amounts of business to British Columbia and also to California and the East Coast. This port is not just important to the region, it's important to the state, to our hay growers, our exporters. I also want to make sure that I just talked with the longshoremen today, and they told me about what it's like to work in some of these dangerous facilities. I want to make sure it's safe for them as well. So there are significant threats, but I think that there are a lot of different ways to be able to solve some of those threats. And I know that I can use my 11 years of business owner experience. I understand about competition. I know that we've got to decrease the competition. I know that there's infrastructure issues with regarding to getting things in and out of the Port of Tacoma, and it's also a struggle. We are doing better than the city of Seattle. As you know, it was basically unlivable. It's very difficult to get in and out of Seattle. So we have a perfect opportunity here to be able to gather much more business, to create new family wage jobs, to modernize these ports. Again, as a business owner, I understand a lot of this. I understand about working with public dollars, and I've had 20 years of education experience as a teacher, as a WBA member, as a principal, and also as a district coordinator. So, families, I understand strategic plans, I understand being transparent,
What do you mean?
entrusting this wonderful world-class this asset to me as your representative. So I understand all of that. The other thing is that I understand service. I have a service heart. I've been giving back to the community. I spent 5 years in the United States Marine Corps serving my country, and again as a civic leader. So I'm very, very proud of Tacoma. It's essential to being able to help create businesses and small businesses. That's something that's special and dear to my heart as well. But I am going to need your help to get to that. I need, first of all, your vote, your endorsement. I need to have people sign waving, doing all kinds of things to help with the campaign. I really appreciate that support. And I know that we can then take our world-class asset to the next level by doing that.
We have a 2-minute question. Go ahead first. Next. Go ahead.
What do you mean by family wage jobs? Like, what do you mean by that?
Sure. What you heard was, let me give you an example that a warehouse worker makes about $30,000. And so it takes a couple to be able to support their family. It's very difficult. Family wage jobs are someone who can basically raise their family on their wage. probably even allowing their spouses to come and work with kids. So you're benefiting your quality of life.
See,
You're working here in Tacoma and living here.
you're saying maybe because there's a lot of single parents here, you know, so your family wage, you're saying it's for a 2-parent household and their kids, or because there's like a lot of single parents here, you know, in Tacoma. So your family
but she
wage
did
for
say
one
maybe-
person
maybe
coming to
allow
work
your-
wouldn't work because
your wife to
it
stay
would be
home.
for the spouse, both spouses.
I understand what you're saying. I think we have basically people at our business come in and they don't have any job skills. We actually train them. In fact, we have a worker who is now working at Boeing. We had him as a CNC operator when he came in. He was peeling plastic and sweeping a room. So I understand about that. I think that we're able to get them to a place where it's tiered so that they can begin to, because of more skills, are able to make more money. So I think that's why we're trying to promote getting people more skills in jobs that are more highly skilled than others, and creating opportunities for them to be able to do that. I understand about being a single parent. I was several years ago before I met my wife and husband, and especially I was a school principal at that time. I was still making good money. Yeah, I know. But I'm taking care of my kids, I'm taking care of everybody else's kids and families too. So I understand the struggles of single parenting. Did I answer
Not
your
really.
question okay, or-
So it is just for like a 2-adult household with kids is your family wage. It would be both the spouses working is the family wage, not just a single parent. Yeah,
Versus one person doing it.
right.
Do you support the LNG project and do you support the Southern planning of the port?
Well, I'll answer the last one first, is I definitely believe in pulling people together. And again, this goes back to wanting to be the kind of elected official that we want to see right now. We are so polarized. And you know that this whole project of high class is polarized. That's what I did as a living, that's what I did as a business owner. I pulled all kinds of stakeholders together to make sure that people understood that the main focus was kids. And I will do that with the port as well. With regard to the LNG facility, I did take a tour of the facility most recently. And this is what you can expect of me as a leader as well. I will listen to what people have to say. And so I went there to talk about that. I have an environmentalist daughter that actually she works for North Cascades National Park. And she has her master's from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. So she works with habitats and all of that. So what I looked at was I saw all of the things that they've done. I looked at all the permitting processes. I looked at all the supplemental environmental impact studies. And I went through that with my daughter as well. It is the best technology that we have right now. I would like to be able to say, let's all not drive our cars, let's not use gas.
The driving our cars has nothing to do with the LNG. I don't know why they keep saying it. Sorry.
Like I said,
Sorry.
the best we got right now. When I talked to the longshoremen, they said that when they get down there and they work with these ships that have bunker oil, they end up having to breathe those particulates. I mean, it's much more dangerous for them in the long term. There's potential for cancer, lung cancer, and things like that. This is a much cleaner thing. I'm not saying it's the be-all.
You're aware that this is only for 2 tow ships, right? And this refinery is going to add pollution on top of what we already have.
Well, I think we also have an oil refinery on Time Class
We
area.
don't have any oil refineries on the right.
But I think that this is not creating more pollution per se. The issue
Yes, it
that-
is.
that we
Yes, it
have
is.
that I understand with my daughter is the fact that, I understand about fracking and the problem with that. I understand.
And the cancer that comes from it?
Trying to reduce our carbon input. And I know that this is a much better solution than what has been going on right now. And I understand about that too, but you need to also understand that the federal government is requiring container ships to move toward LNG.
They're not requiring LNG.
I'm going to be doing, I actually talked to Chairman Stewart at the Citizens for a Healthy Bay
Oh, sit-ins for a healthy babe. That's great.
He wants to sit down and talk a little bit more about it. And I wanted to talk to him about my daughter's working on the Susitna River, working on salmon habitat. I think that would be a really wonderful, point, to be able to sit down and have a common conversation about that.
So you were
If you want to get this offline,
Yeah, Roxy, get it. Roxy.
I'd love to talk with you more about it, so.
There's a time up.
I think you have my information.
I'll just put the question on the paper.
Okay, thank you all.
Citizens for a Healthy Day is not a progressive. There should be. There will be.
Is there a paper going around for her? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you everybody for sticking around.
That's not the truth.
So, my name is Justin Camerata, and I am running for the Port of Tacoma Commission, also for position 3. We just heard from another candidate on that. A little bit of my background. I'm a University of Washington graduate. Go Huskies. I have 2 little boys. My wife Bess and I have lived in the north end of Tacoma over by UPS for probably actually as long as we've been married. So I moved there shortly after I graduated. We've lived there ever since. So I am running for the Port of Tacoma Commission. Last year I did serve as the interim Tacoma City Council member. Robert Tom, shortly after being reelected, was deployed to Afghanistan, and the council voted to appoint me in his absence. So I had the rare, unique opportunity, frankly the massive privilege of getting to serve alongside our great city council right now, and with Mayor Woodards, and getting a taste of what public service is like and what elected service is like there. So I decided to run for the Port of Tacoma Commission for a variety of reasons. I'm looking at this from a few different angles. One of the things that I saw while I was working on the city council was we're in need of some new voices and some new strategic direction for the port. So other people have said here before that Port of Tacoma is a major economic driver, and that is true. It supports, I believe it was about $3 billion in economic activity, about 29,000 jobs, and I think that's great. I think we have an opportunity to do a lot more with that and to bring some more of those dollars home, to bring some more of those jobs home, and also to take things in a better direction when it comes to climate and to the environment. So I don't know if any of you here are familiar with the UN IPCC report. That came out about a year ago now at this point. And so basically a large panel of scientists concluded, excuse me, in no short order, that we've basically got about 10 to 20 years to dramatically reverse course on greenhouse gas emissions and the ways that we're doing business before we start seeing some seriously catastrophic impacts on our climate.
Catastrophic.
So that's going to be impacting our shorelines, and not just what's happening at the port, but really statewide. So I think for me, when I take a look at the Port of Tacoma, what I'm seeing is we don't have younger representation, people that are going to be here 20, 30 years from now that are going to be living with the impacts of what's going on down at the port right now. We don't have people that are putting the same priority on Tacoma area labor unions and workers. I think there's a real opportunity for that. So some of the things that I would like to see happen, Port of Oakland, a big initiative that they undertook a couple years ago, actually it was about 10 years ago, they called it the MAPL, which stood for Maritime and Aviation Project Labor Agreement. And basically what this entailed was a large-scale partnership between their local port, their school districts, their housing authority, some of the surrounding indigenous tribes. They basically came up with a giant community workforce agreement package together where they said, let's go to these communities that are most impacted by pollution and all these adverse effects of what goes on at the port. Let's work together to get these people employed, to get them trained in living wage jobs in the future, to help them learn how to build the new technologies and usher things forward. And so what wound up happening is the incomes went up. Proportionally, people of color, communities of color, they were able to benefit from some of that too. It was an equitable outreach opportunity. Labor unions got to be involved, the school districts got to be involved, and the port was really able to play a significant, substantial role in helping boost the local economy. We talked about affordable housing here. That's something I worked on when I was on the Tacoma City Council. This job doesn't necessarily touch that as much directly, but it does have an impact. Because we know that when people are employed, when they have a living wage, when they're paid a union wage, they're able to afford the housing as it goes along. So you can't see these things in silos, you have to have them all work together. So again, for me, I'm going to be focused on jobs, on green energy. There's a lot of discussion right now nationally about a Green New Deal. I think that's a great thing. I think local governments can be part of that. So I think that needs to be a discussion of things like moving away from fossil fuels, moving towards renewable energy. The Port of Rotterdam, they've started doing a large-scale battery electrification project. They're also starting to do things with hydrogen. Port of Los Angeles did one of the largest solar grid projects in the United States, and they use project labor hours to do that too. So this argument that we've been told for years and years that what's going on at the port right now is the best we can do, I frankly don't buy it. Because I've seen what's happening around the country right now, and I know we can do better. So I'm not going to talk for too long. I want to open this up for questions, but at the end of the day, I'm asking for your vote, for your support, for somebody who is going to be here 20 years from now, that understands the urgency of what's going on, who has both the youth and also the government experience to work at the port to make sure that it's the best possible port it can be. Thank you.
All right, we got time for a few questions. What you got? Go ahead, Roxy.
How long do you think it'll be before we need to pay some real attention to sea level rise down at the port?
Well, the reports that are out now, they're saying 10 to 15 years. I saw one projection, Matt Driscoll of the News Tribune, he wrote a piece about this that basically said, if nothing changes between now and I think it's the year 2040, roughly 50 to 60% of the land that the port owns right now will be underwater. Like, this is no longer a far off conceptual theory. This is something that we have to prioritize. We have to make it number one. So for me, I'm not going to claim I have all the answers to that I'll be able to do it by myself, or that we can't do it in partnership with all these other groups, but it has to be a priority. And to be honest, I don't feel that it currently is.
Thank you.
Can you speak to us about interim regulations and
Yes, so interim regulations she asked about. So at the Tacoma Tideflats, and Christina mentioned this a little bit earlier, but what's going on down there right now is the city of Tacoma is engaged in several long-range land use planning processes. So when I was on the council, we voted to approve the one for the Tacoma Mall sub area. So right now they are working on the Tideflats one. So that is, it's, as was discussed earlier, it's a broad coalition between the county, the city of Tacoma, the Gulf Tribe of Indians. There's other stakeholders like City of Fife, all these other groups too. So during that process, which is likely going to take several years to complete, the Tacoma City Council did enact something called interim regulations. And it's basically a set of land use requirements that are put in place while this process is underway. So the current position on them right now is there is a pause on new fossil fuel developments while they're down there, while they figure this out. They do have to be voted on to be renewed every 6 months, I believe, right now. So those are actually there's going to be a hearing for that tomorrow night. So my personal position, yes, I support those interim regulations. When I was on the Tacoma City Council, I also supported them being renewed. And also to put a pause while we planned to put a pause on existing fossil use development as well. And the reason for that is not because I believe in shutting down jobs or being anti-industrial or anti-worker, but because I believe we need to set a new path, because we know that the jobs are there. These are statistics being provided by groups like Bloomberg, like the Wall Street Journal, The Economist. These are not left fringe publications. These are major economic research outlets that are basically saying the jobs of the future are in renewable energy.
Yep.
They're not in oil, they're not in natural gas, they're in other things.
Yep.
So to me, as I look at what's going on at the Tideflats, I want industry, I want job growth, I want economic security, I want those new jobs in the future. I also know the future is not fossil fuels, and I know that what's happening down there right now can't continue as is. So yes, it is important.
Whoop, whoop. Yes.
One more question, 1 minute left. All right. Oh, Robert, you have something?
Yeah.
What about, I keep hearing about, if someone girl is part of home, how are you gonna make sure that people get jobs and not legal immigrants will come through and they want a job, how are they gonna be able to get trained?
So are you asking that we make sure that jobs go to local citizens? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of the only immigrants that want to fund from all over, come to like Washington State, how are you gonna make sure there's gonna be jobs for our citizens here?
Okay, well, first of all, I would say that we are all immigrants. Every single person here, unless you're indigenous,
Yes.
and we're currently on the Gulf Tribe's land, by the way. Thank you, David, for bringing that up earlier. If you're not indigenous, you are an immigrant or a child of an immigrant. So I
am
don't want
indigenous,
to
and I'm still an
mentality of
immigrant.
us versus them. But you know, again, one of the things I want us to focus on is how we do local hiring. So right now, several ports, including Port of Seattle for that matter, employ some version of either a project labor agreement or a community workforce agreement. We don't have that in place right now. And a specific part of that is ensuring that local neighbors of the port area and some of the port land, that they are targeted, that they're provided with the opportunities to develop a career, to grow in that. It's in partnership with the schools, with the port, with the tribe, with any other interested groups that are there. So that is a very intentional effort to reach out and to work with the communities around there and ensure that they have the jobs and that they have the training. And then something else I would point out with this too. How many of you here have heard of the Northwest Seaport Alliance? Okay, so basically the Northwest Seaport Alliance, if you're not familiar with that, a couple of years back, Ports of Seattle and Port of Tacoma basically decided to enter into a joint operating agreement where they're basically now operating as one entity. So we're not competing with each other anymore. But the effect of that, what's wound up happening is I'm very much in favor of that idea because I think it is a good one and I think we need those regional partnerships. But the net effect I'm concerned increasingly is Seattle, King County are getting a lot more of the benefits than Tacoma, Pierce County are. So, good example, Terminal 5 was a project that they just voted on recently. That is hundreds of millions of dollars going into that. It's going to be a great, environmentally friendly new facility, provide a lot of labor, quality jobs. None of that is guaranteed to go to Tacoma or Pierce County right now. Some of that will go to Seattle labor. I want to make sure that on that board, the Northwest Seaport Alliance board, because half of that is the Port of Tacoma Commission, that we have somebody that lives in Tacoma that understands the importance of it and that's willing to fight for getting some of those labor hours from our community too. So that's going to be something that is a huge priority of mine. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
All right, everyone in the room who's a candidate, thank you so much for coming and speaking to our organization.